Alrighty, as we get into the morning and what we did on the Discord here, let's cover NQ and a couple of the other jams we got going on. We have the 1 minute clusters and triples down here. So we had posted there's two gaps each ES NQ above us, so we were waiting for a confirmation of long, right? So we posted in the Discord that we had these algos right here. We have a big triple on the 1 minute. So we took the high-low of 1, 2, 3 GP no tags, and then that was associated with a gap 25,082, right? So as we move into that fib, we were talking about the 666 slip range and no longs until we were inside the 666 for you guys, all the way back up to the gaps, right? So we had the slip, we watched more slip, we watched more slip, and then it finally based out and broke out into the 666. Now you are waiting for that confirmational test and go. Anything above that 100 EMA, 1 minute. Okay, so the NQ cluster right there is something that we used for a cycle. Now it's a very tight cycle and it got some pretty big speed here with the Trump tweets and everything else going on this morning. So we didn't really have an opportunity to see a nice like reversal grind on anything, which helps us out pretty good for now a long reverse, because when we slide through that 3618 to the 423, notice once it got into the 666, it magneted directly to the 423 to the penny, right? Because you see here the 3618 and 423 broke. When it retested, it never came to the 3618 in the orange, slipped past the 666, and boom, right to the 423. So what's the next setup? Well, the next setup is on ES here for me, and we were longing everything on those potential slips and reversals, and we were waiting for that 67.1750 to go, or inside the 666. We seen some speed breaking coming up, and I said, well, probably get a scalp on there. So we got a little scalp to the upside, and that was about it. Now we're looking at ES here. The same exact thing applies, except for it doesn't have a triple cluster. We have a weird doji in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 with a really awkward mini doji, because low volume ES is low volume ES. But we do have the bigger gaps up here, same pairs. So we have a very high probability of coming back up. And more importantly, the 5 minute has the gap, right? So this is huge for us. When we see 5 minute volume imbalances, a lot of the times we don't see them stay open. So if you go to your 5 minute chart, there is a gap between candle 405, 410. So that candle right there is going to be a huge magnet point for us today, as we have the opportunity to make that chase back up. Now, only two things can happen here that I want to see if we back up, right? We look to our left, we have a low a day on ES. We were talking about sweeping that before it went back up, and it kind of got a little traction beforehand. But that's okay. The computers needed to see it up to the 100 EMA first, right? And the 100 EMA was shied after the break of that 5 minute gap. So if we look right here in price action, the 5 minute had snapped through the 100 EMA. We have the gap at 6744. It went to retest that 100 EMA in the green and did not make it and fluttered out. Now you're looking at every opportunity to potentially buy the dips, because we hit the 100 EMA first tag on retest, right? Because after a break, we look for retest. Break of the 100 EMA here. Held the 200, did not tag, flush, tagged. And look what happened to the algos reacting directly to that tag. Big push down. So now we have a couple different zones down here, a fair value gap on the 5 minute with a no tag GP, and a few things lower that we could see on a scam sweep before we head back up, right? We got a lot of pre-market left, about 20 some minutes. And if this thing wants to wonk out and just destroy everybody on a sweep and then reverse later, well, it is what it is. That 5 minute gap is still going to be a target on confirmation, right? In confirmation, we barely got a low with a tiny high break now of this little consolidation, which is not any kind of confirmation yet. That is a break, and we are looking for a higher low inside this range right here to climb back up. And if we don't get that, it will sweep scam the lows. It will destroy everybody down there under 67.17, and then we'll have to just reassess, right? But that isn't quite yet for that. Now, if we come into a reversal piece here, we're going to go to SPY. It's going to be developed off the prior GPs as well, right? So go to the right chart with the drawings. There we go. So we posted this Fibonacci in Discord as well, where we had this guy, no tag GP 6 a.m. right here, 5 minute, and high load this guy, and then 423 held, almost back to the GP. So if anything holds down here, you're in an opportunity to see lots and lots and lots of decent higher low confirmation, right? Because we came down from this 5 minute, cycled the entire 423.3618, and then back to almost tagging the GP. So the golden, as always, yesterday's high low is what we look for, is going to be a huge over under for us for the 5 minute gap, right? So if we come in today and say, okay, we already swept it, we called that in Discord, big sweep, then returned it, mega scalp. Great. Now what? Well, the confirmation is at 666.63. Have to stay above this to move to the top end of GP. So anything above here is going to net us a chance for that 5 minute gap that is going to be near the top of the GP. So the entirety of the day needs to be hold of 38.20, golden, up towards 668.68, okay? And I'm going to delete this just because we have the GP tracker and we don't need the extensions because we already hit them. And if you look to your left up here, this gap right here, 405 to 410, this is the SPY's rendition of ES's 5 minute gap. So that is also pre-market. So the best case scenario and only scenario I see for long today is buy every single confirmation high or low, which we are finally just setting for you guys. You're not touching it till this confirmation. Just set it right here. You're looking for that hold and push to the pre-open and 668.68. Okay. So that will be one of the biggest watches on the upside for now. Now the volatility index here. And this is another big peak range, right? So the two things happened that we had predicted yesterday for the final shorts, right? We come in, we had the hold of 18, we got that. We had the gap up and it held the gap up, so it had the run, right? All the way up to 21. Now, we didn't quite make it to some of those big clusters before, but in a couple videos already, we have covered the giant clusters that we needed to see. This whole range of gaps and this whole range of gap clusters, right? We went over this. Huge. I think these up here in the upper mid-20s will be saved for Friday. But right now, we're going to see that we wiped out that first whole group of clusters we called there massively, right? And now if we come back down, hold that pre-open it up, we notice that 1950 in the same zone becomes a very good opportunity at resistance. Now the VIX is coming down. We had the hot RSI. We got the turnaround. So we obviously had a good shot for the lower high to low on VIX to set us up for this long, right? Now, speaking of yesterday, what we did have, I have to redraw these, I think, because I didn't hold these on. Thought I had a 15 on a 10 day. Where'd that go? I'll have to reset those. All right, so last but not least in this one, we had the cluster on QQQ. And that was the 15-minute cluster on the gap and go, right? So we had this Fibonacci on the algo, and then we had 3 15s. Oh, I said QQQ. I meant SPY. It's an early one over here. So this is our markup for yesterday and how we did those predictions. We had 3 no-tag 15s right here. And this was our neon green Fibonacci that we had played out. Like this. So for our chat, we said anything inside the 423 was going to pivot all the way to the 1618. We caught counter trends right there yesterday. We called a full long off the 1618 right here, all the way up. And then you got your confirmation right there underneath the 2618 to flush further. We said the final target coming into weakness was going to be the daily gap. And there you go. That big wonk down almost hit the gap GP, but it got bought up ahead of time, which is a good thing for our later short, right? So after the algo-driven long we are still going to be focusing on one huge thing, and that's that doji. We have 2 different ones, and this one is the new one right now. That's obviously the dump cause from yesterday as well. We always watch those daily dojis. If we happen to stay under this now with a force, right, because we have an ES 5-minute gap above us, we have that Fibonacci we've already done. We're going to come to ES right here and say, all right, well, we're going to force up to this 5-minute today, and that's going to be our target of 6744, biggest watch we have on the long side of things. If that holds true to just be a static sweep of high a day and then starts to roll back down, and we are clear cut under that doji of SPY, that is going to set us up for that long drive short. Now, I don't want to see that quite yet because we're dealing with that one thing, and that's the Trump sweep candle. So I still have a very high sneaking suspicion that we will have to sweep over that doji and over into the all-time high here, dominating the top right here of that Trump dump candle. So I think I'm still going to stick to anything on the top of this leg doji here. I really like this over under support. We've been defending 6722 on the daily. And then of course we can always fib out this huge no tag GP, which I did this morning here and just kind of checked it over. And that would actually put us at 100 as well. So when we take the high low of 1017, we will develop support from 67.18, 67.22 to up here at 68.09. That 1618 can get swept up and lead us to about 68.15 to 68.20. So in the long-term macro, we will still be developing a all-time high attempt in my book for this right here. So that's all we got for the day trades and the simple breakdowns from yesterday. So we are targeting all the dip buys right here. Here's that 100 intraday. Here's that price level we just went over intraday. We didn't quite get the sweep of low day, but that's okay. We'll see you guys up at 67.44 today for our best case scenario long.